Hi everyone, Yaku Sash here. Glad to be back with another video. In the last video, we covered the core principles of Verve Coding. If you haven't seen it yet, I've linked to it in the show notes. Go check it out first. In this video, we'll dive into the specific technologies we use to bring Verve Coding to life, along with some tips for configuring them for maximum productivity. We'll also talk about Stack to Pixels Tapestry, which is our real-life project that we will create together using AI and the Verve Coding method. So we're going to start off with the types of tools that is going to make Verve Coding effective and fun. One thing that it's pretty much a critical requirement is something called Whisper Flow. I'm going to show it to you over here. Basically, this tool allows you to talk to the AI, and whereas ChatGPT has a wonderful voice mode, and I love it, and I use it all the time. The problem with it is, first of all, it's limited to just one tool, right? Which we want to be able to talk to many different AIs. But also the fundamental problem is that we read, um, faster than we talk. So talking, we want to, but we talk faster than we type. So talking, we want to be able to type to input information. We want to get into that mode where we're talking and we're not censoring ourselves. When we type, we censor ourselves constantly. You don't say everything you want. That's because typing takes effort, much more effort than talking. Another reason is that we're used to being sensitive to other people. When we talk a lot and we ramble on and on and on, then other people, are get frustrated. Um, but when you're talking to an AI, the AI does not get frustrated. You can talk as long as you want, ramble as much as you want, get every last thought, nuance out there, and then you let the AI take over. So that's why we want to use Whisper Flow. I will put all the apps and within the show notes. The next app is called Windsurf, and you can see it right over here in the background. This is a great tool. There are many other tools out there as well. One of them is Cursor, which is very popular. I'm using Windsurf now, but we may experiment with other tools as well. So this is Cascade, and go into Quick Setting panel, and you want to have your settings. Everything should be set up like I have it here. This is set to on. This is set to turbo. Now, just because you're executing things automatically, you can still tell the AI how you want things to be done. So that gives you a little bit more control over it. Another thing which I wanted to mention is that there are some files here called Conversations MD. This is a way to keep track of your work session with the AI in case in case in case it freezes up on you, which does happen occasionally. Um, so you may want to be able to recover from that. So Conversations MD, and there's also Requirements MD. Requirements are more for the requirements of the file of the project. It's a place to keep track of what you're doing. I also have a to-do .md to keep track of things that I want to do in the future. So these are good files. It's important that you keep track of your session with the AI. Another good thing is when there's something called memory within uh, within Windsurf, and that allows you to record things as well. But memory does get destroyed or may not get always recovered. So it's good to have conversations.md as well. It's a backup memory, so to speak. I will provide these prompts for you within the show notes because obviously it'll be too detailed to go through it over here. And we will be looking at other tools as well. We also use ChatGPT, and we'll show you how we use that together with Windsurf. Now, Windsurf can actually plug into many different um, large language models, um, and but Claude Sonnet is works especially well with Windsurf, so we're keeping it as is, but we will definitely try other models as well. And we will try directly using other models. As we're developing with the AI here, we are going to be multitasking with another AI as well, or multiple AIs. So let's get into what we're building. So a lot of people start using vibe coding, and they have a great idea. They want to build a product, and it's wonderful. And they start off strong. They give all the requirements to the AI. I built something wonderful, and then they get stuck. They get stuck for many reasons, primarily because um, life is not static, right? Even if you make the perfect app, there's going to be changes. You're going to need changes. You get user feedback. You find a bug, and then they try to use AI to make changes, and that's where they get stuck. Because to start making changes, you don't get that wonderful feeling. You accomplished so much at the beginning. You built a whole AI. You built a entire app in one day, and now you have to change one button, and all of a sudden it takes you the whole day to change that button. And then they're like, AI is overhyped. It's useless. The fallacy there is that changing, even for a developer, even for a ninja developer, top of the line, 10x developer, changes are hard because we forget, we don't know every line of code, and the AI is no different. So, but when we're going to work purposefully with AI together, and we're going to make changes, and we're going to fix things, and we're going to add feature by feature, which is harder to do that, but that's the way that real life development works. You don't want to rebuild your app every day from scratch. That could be a process, right? But it's never going to be exactly what you want. There's always going to be something missing, something left out, something broken. So this is the right way. This is the appropriate way of software development. And of course, if you design your system right with unit testing and proper system design, then adding features should not be a problem. The issue with vibe coding is that the features are not added in. With your framework is not necessarily in properly because you didn't design it with a framework. You just said, AI, build me this app, and the AI built it with a framework. Without a framework, you have no clue. So when you start making changes, yes, it's going to be very difficult to make those changes when the architecture is not there properly. Um, One more thing, to build an architecture from the beginning is hard also because that's you're doing a lot of upfront work and you don't see results. So that's why a lot of people skip that level, which is perfectly fine. You want to get something out, you want to prototype, and that's something that's as valuable, right? But keep in mind that you skipped many steps, and now it's called technical debt, and now you have to go back and pay that debt. When you start adding in features that you want to add in properly, you are going to have to build in that framework, which you missed from the beginning, and that takes time, and that is hard work. And the AI will make it easier, but only if you have the right attitude and you are treating it, um, you know, effectively and working with it, not against it. And we're going to go through those things live with you together. So this is real. We're building a real app, and you will be able to test the app yourself. We're not sharing code because at this point there's no. I feel that there's less value with that. I feel the AI is writing the code pretty much. I feel it's more the approach that we're taking to writing the code. But if there's enough interest, we can definitely share the code as well. will be building a game. The game is called Stack the Pixels Tapestry. And what this game is, it's going to be the first of its kind. It's a massively multiplayer puzzle game. So think of a game like Fortnite, except that we're playing a match 3 puzzle game. If you're familiar with those mechanics, think of it like a Candy Crush, but with millions of people playing it together at the same time. So that is the long-term vision. And from this obviously doesn't look great. This is browser-based now, and that's how typically, is a good way to build things. This is actually going to have a mobile app, but it's definitely easier to build it on a web base first, and then you will be migrated over to mobile. Um, and and the truth is that AI is very good at porting code. So it's a strong one of its strong points. So definitely, it's not pain free, but if you do it right, it pays to build things with the technologies that you know and you're comfortable with, and that are easier to use and deploy, and then to migrate it to a more industrial strength technology. And of course, AI can assist you with that as well. So from the purpose of the way that the game works is that different players will be able to create a tapestry. Those players will become the owner of the tapestry and will be able to set the the way that the tapestry will get created and built, and which pictures are being used in the tapestry. And the game part of it is that the community will be stacking those tapestries. So a tapestry can be added, any picture could be used in a tapestry, and then but to see it in your tapestry, you need to stack it, or your community needs to stack it. And so this is designed to be a small. The game board starts off small, literally like 10 pixels by 10 pixels, like that. That's how small it is. And then as people stack pictures, they stack pixel by pixel. Each pixel is a block on the screen. Then that becomes the game board. The game board gets larger as more and more people stack. And this is a great thing for brands, for charities, not for profits. If you have a cause that you're passionate about, a business, this is the type of thing that will eventually, you start small, you attract a community of people. Will be a fun game, and by getting started early, you will then get your community involved, and you will be able to work with me to design this so that it is brand aligned. So you get a lot of great, um, alignment from the beginning, and you also are one of the first ones that are using this, building with us. So you get your community involved, then the game board gets larger and larger, the tapestry gets larger and larger. Eventually, um, the game board, as I say, gets larger. More and more people can play, and so this is how you do community building. This is something that will be winning world records in the sense of your tapestry. If you get started early, um, could become the largest tapestry in the world, with the most players playing it. So definitely a good incentive to get started early and work with us. Um, so definitely reach out to me if you are interested in working with us, and getting your brand and your company involved. So very exciting. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how the game works. And it's very simple right now. Obviously, we're going to make it more and more complicated. So this is I'm signed in on two different browsers, two different users here. So I'm going to join in on one screen over here, and I'm going to join to that same world over here. We're calling them worlds. We're going to obviously call them tapestries. And then just a simple click will then stack the pixel. Obviously, this is not fun, right? This is kind of boring, but we definitely have a lot more fun game mechanics, which we will be adding in. But from a fundamental perspective, you see we have a core pinning over here. We have a picture. There's a way to stack them. Right now, it's a little bit tedious, but we will definitely be making that a lot more fun and competitive, right? It'll be competitive, cooperative, competitive, and all that. Um, and you can see here that there is a picture, and we're syncing up, so you can have as many players. If there was another 20 browsers, each one would have a join code, and you can all join together. So very simple game for now. What we would like to do today is we would like to add a feature to this. So, because I want to give you the opportunity to use this, and um, after every video, we will be I will be sharing the current state of the game with you to test out and to play with. Um, so keep in mind that we will be sharing the most current version. So as we go along, the version will change, and this particular version may not actually exist anymore. And there's nothing we can do about that. Um, it's just that we don't want to. This is a work in progress. We're not going to keep every version available. Again, if there's a desire for it, definitely reach out to me, and we'll see what we can do. The next thing is that this is a work in progress, so things actually uh, may stop working, things may break, you may lose a picture, data, all that stuff. Everything here is very experimental. If you share a picture, obviously only share things that belong to you, that's appropriate, and if you violate the rules, you will be banned. So please don't start up, and it'll be unfair for the community and unfair for people that are going to be learning from this. So before I can actually give this out, even this app, as basic as it is missing one critical feature, and that's what we want to add in today. So I'm going to create a new world. I'm going to click this button. You can't see this is on another screen. I'm going to select, let me actually bring it in over here. I'm going to select that over there, and then I can now crop it and confirm that. And now we have a new game. So this seems to be working wonderfully. And I can now start stacking the pixels. And then my colleague over here, my friend, can also start playing this game. So down over here. But if you see, there's a fundamental flaw because this was created as a public tapestry. And the and there's a risk here, right? Because eventually we will have the tapestries will be public, but and we will allow anyone to join them. But we will also have a not safe for work filter, ensuring that it's an appropriate picture being shared. And we don't have that implemented right now. So for now, all tapestries will be private, and we need a mechanism where it's set up private by default. So our first enhancement that we want to do is we want to say when tapestries are created, they are created as private, and then players will be able to enter in a join code, and so they will be able to join it. And this restricts it a little bit. It's obviously not 100%. Someone could put the join code in a public, environment, a social group on the internet, and then people can obviously join to it there. But it's a little bit more restricted in the sense of that there's a little bit more effort that needs to be made there. Again, if we see people are violating it, you do have to sign in to use this test system, the game as it is, so we will know who you are and you will be banned and blocked. And if we see that that doesn't help, then we will have to end this experiment until we obviously put in the not safe for work filter. So it really depends on what you do and what you do to support the community. So we're going to start working on the changes that we want to incorporate. And you're going to see that I'm going to talk to the AI with the Whisper flow, and let's get started. So, um, I need to make a change to the app. Basically, currently, the way that it works is that the people can create a new world, and then everyone else can see it automatically. We want to change that default behavior so that by default, only the people that join the code, that enter in the join code, can see it. I don't know what code that was put in automatically that supports this behavior. So this might be an easy feature to do. This might be a more difficult feature. Take a look at the code and let me know what what is your assessment of how difficult something like this would be. So as you notice, I just rambled on a little bit. The goal here is to be as comfortable as possible with the AI. You don't have to be exact. You can talk and you can change your mind in the middle and just keep going, right? You want to go get into that flow state, just talking and just thinking things out loud, and don't censor yourself. There's no point, right? The AI doesn't care if you ramble, um, and uh, and it's the more you talk, the more you're actually thinking about the problem. So that's actually the best thing. You want to be thinking about it, and the AI is not going to always doesn't know your requirements. So the more you think about your requirements, the more you express yourself, the better job the AI can do on the code. If you see that the AI is not doing what you want them to do, you can just jump in and redirect them. So that's what I'm going to do here. It looks like that 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 they're that they're looking at my live data, which is a great thing to have. That the AI can not only fix up coding issues, but can actually fix up issues within your data. So we're using Redis on the back end. Redis is a great database. Um, it's a memory database. It's very fast. So it's a perfect for a game. And there's some really great features in Redis. So we are using Redis, and yes, it can check Redis for you. And I'm thinking that this is nothing to do with the worlds that have been already created. This is something to do with the code. We just want that whatever default behavior we have. So let me ask you this: Are we checking? Is there any filter to ensure that a user, a player, what we call them users here, that they exist within a world, that they can access their world? Do we have access control? So I seem to have lost that. If you mess up, you can always go to Whisper and you can copy in their text directly. There is a nice history feature there. Okay. Now, typically, if I'm working directly by myself without an audience, I would be multitasking, right? I would be um, either reviewing code or doing sometimes when the code is very intense, and you don't want to be busy with the code. Reviewing code and fixing code is sometimes you just want to be focused on that, but I'll do some other busy work. You know, um, for example, if I need to reply to some emails, things like that. But you definitely want to keep busy while the AI is working. You don't want to, doom scroll and get stuck into social media and stuff like that, right? You don't want to you want to be focused on work. Um, Definitely, if you can be reviewing the code at the same time, that's the ideal. But a lot of people find it hard to multitask and work on two different parts of the code at the same time. So if that's your case, definitely, respond to work emails or do things that don't tax your brain too much while you're working on this. So we're looking over here if there's any access control, and there isn't any. Um, so let's see what the proposed change is. And we can go over here. And here's the default changes. Now, I made sure, and this will be part of the prompts, like I made sure that the AI does not do any changes unless I expressly ask for those changes. So that's why it is asking me before it's making the changes. That's how I set it up. And you could give it a lot of nuance. You can say sometimes you may want it to make certain changes for you automatically and not have to ask you for every little thing. And that's up to you and your style and your coding style. And as you work together with the AI more, you can decide what that is. So I think over here, this is, so I think we want to do default, and we didn't tell AI this, so it doesn't know that the default we want to do is going to be private. And I think we'll explain that to it. And I think that this seems like this is a good option. We're using Redis over here. Obviously, I'm not looking in a lot of detail. I would review it more thoroughly, but it does look good to me right now. One thing I'm going to ask it some more nuanced questions. So I'm wondering about performance. So if this, if we want to scale this to 1 million players at some point in the future, will this work? Will your proposed solution work? And if not, then is there another solution that we can implement instead? And give me the pros and cons for each. So here it's going to go through. We're going to take the pragmatic approach for now. Let's see over here, solution 2, elements of solution 3. So I like this approach here because there's no need, and we can explain this to the UI, that there's no need to list all the players at this point, right? Players will be anonymous. Obviously when a player is in the game playing, we may want to be able to see them, but just the access control is not necessary. Maybe in the future, if somebody is the owner, right, of and so they may want to block somebody, but even that, you're not scrolling through 1 million players and blocking them. You're going to type in their email address, and then we can search them through the other mechanism anyway. So logically, to me, there's no real reason. I think a combination hash is the most efficient, which is just basically going to be world key, because we use keys here, and plus user key, right? That's the best thing. So let me confirm that with the AI, and then we can make that decision. And notice how we didn't go with the first option. So with the original option that was proposed, we actually did not go with that. Where we forgot to mention performance at the beginning, and then we realized that we needed to take that into consideration. So one thing that I forgot to mention is that a Tapestry owner will not have any need to know who is a listing of all million players within their community. And no one really needs that. No one's going to list, looking at, players' names or whatever. And even if a Tapestry owner wants to block a player, which it will be it's their community, they will be able to block players. They'll just do it based on the player's email address. So again, there's no real reason why we need to have a set, which is what the original proposal was. I do like the hybrid approach, which is basically to have a combination key, which is going to be which will be the world key, which is the Tapestry, plus the user key, which is the player. And if that exists, then we know that that player has access. And if it doesn't, then the player doesn't. And we can use our naming conventions. So we can use the colon is used in Redis to separate different parts. So we can search the world key. Definitely should be the first part of it. So our standards are W colon, W is for world, and then the world key. And then we'll have another colon there will be for the user key. So let me know if this makes sense. So obviously, I have a lot of knowledge about Redis, which which a developer may not know, and that's fine. You don't have to know everything. But if you know knowledge, you're not here to test the AI to see will they think of my, approach. You're here to work together. And if you know what you want, say what you want, and don't beat around the bush, right? Because what's the point, right? You're not teaching the AI what it doesn't know. If this was a new app, you would want to give as many. If you have a design in mind, you and an architecture in mind, give it from day one. Don't don't let the AI think of its own thing, which is not what you want. Now you can validate it, which is what I did here, and it said, and I liked it. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. It's not the AI will, and sometimes it will say it doesn't like it, and you may be right, right, or you may be wrong. And then those cases you may want to, either check another AI, right, and see if the other AI may have a different perspective, or check with your colleagues. Um, that's also valid, right? It's not just because we're living in the AI generation doesn't mean that we can't speak to other humans as well. So let's keep going, and this makes sense. Oh, actually, it didn't finish over there. So let's go. Let's just say continue. Continue. Right, duplicate over there. Okay. Let's see what what it was supposed to write. Okay. And let's see over here. What I'm going to also add in something which people don't do. I'll teach you this trick. And by the way, this is all live coding. I did not do this. I didn't do this beforehand, and now I'm coming in and doing it again. This is all live. This is real. So we're doing it together, um, and I'm learning as I'm doing it as well. So so over here, I'm looking over here. I'm thinking that it should be. See, the visibility makes sense. Right, this is the set. This makes sense, right? So that makes sense. And then world listing. Um, so I think this is interesting. Like when you're listing out a world, I think we want to have players will only have very few worlds in them. Like you're not going to have access to 100 worlds, right? Maybe you'll have access to 10. So there's going to be some public worlds and there'll be some private worlds. Right now, we're only focusing on the private world. So for private worlds, it makes sense that the user would just have a listing of the world that they have access to inside their Redis. So we need a set inside the world that's going to basically have which worlds does this user have access to. So let me explain that to the AI. So the world listing, just want to clarify that from a player's perspective, they will not have access to all worlds. There is going to be public worlds and private worlds, and by default today we'll only only be working on the private worlds. So we don't have to worry design for the public worlds right now. So we're designing only for private worlds, and we want to make sure that when we access a player, that they will be able to easily list out all the worlds that they have access to, right? So they can see it on the screen, which means that there has to be some sort of set within the user, under the user Redis structure, that will give them access to that will contain all the worlds that they have access to. Does this make sense? Okay, so let's see what this says, and let's see if this modifies anything that we previously discussed. Okay. So here it's giving code examples. Obviously, I'm not looking at it in detail, but it makes sense what they're saying. Okay, so it wants to implement it. That's great. So let's do one thing. This is a good hack to do whenever you're making changes to code. So great. I agree with the design. What I want to do is I want you to, when you're adding in the code, also add in logging as well. So this way we can be ensured that whatever code is being added properly. Now, we also want to make sure that the code is being added properly on the back end and on the front end. And we also have a administration portal as well. So could you document the changes, including the type of logging that you're going to be doing for all these components? So here, it looks like the AI is generating all the code. That's not what we wanted. So what we want is, as a high-level checklist, we want to know, so we can check it after you make the changes. We want to have a checklist. What are the changes that are going to be made, front end, back end, and the administration portal? Okay, so this is going to be a good checklist, and we can also use this because this is a little bit low level, because when you're dealing with code, it becomes too much. The AI can write code so fast that it's kind of crazy how quickly you can write code, but it doesn't help you if the code is the wrong code. So let's look at some of these things over here. These are the backend changes, and we want to make sure at a high level, from a design perspective, that it makes sense, right? So some of these things make sense, right? Get accessible world user key, that makes sense. Has you're passing in, this is in the world service, so you're passing in that create a world is to add to the world. So you're doing that. You're adding the world to the creator, so the creator can see it. That's important. Um, so function to check if a user has access to the world, right? This is something, right, has access. Now, so this is returning all the world, but this is checking one specific world. That's important. Now, um, we can ask the question, well, yeah, so world service, that makes sense. Add logging, add appropriate error handling, this makes sense. So we are using Node.js on the back end. I didn't mention that uh, at the beginning, and we're using vanilla JavaScript on the front end, and we are using React for the admin portal. And we're using over here Redis, and we're using Redis on the back end as our data store. So we're checking those. We're checking here front end changes. Okay, we're not going to go through every little thing, but this is really what we want to check and do a quick check, a sanity check before we tell the AI to make the changes. Now, just imagine, even, and this is where people forget how much work is involved in making changes to code. So I told you this change of the code. You put this code in. You think to yourself, okay, it's a simple change, right? Adding access control for a world. What it maybe take you an hour, but then you don't even you start writing code even before you even map out every little change that you're doing, and then you get distracted with management, testing this, something comes up, email, social media, and before you know it, you get distracted, and now you don't even remember what changes you made or different changes. And so here, the AI is doing so much for you, which is not even appreciated. And now it's going to actually write the code as well. So let's go for it. Okay. So we're going to make those changes. While we're making those changes, let me just speak to you about the deployment. So we're using something called render.com. It's a great service. It allows you to deploy code, Node.js and other code as well, to a great web portal. And one of the reasons why I chose it, first of all, actually the AI suggested I chose it, and I chose it based on the technology stack that I was using. One of the nice things is it supported Redis, so it was a one-stop shop for everything. Long term, I will, as this project gets larger and more sophisticated, obviously this is going to be moved over to a more robust Redis environment that has perhaps backups and real-time data feeds to a database, because Redis is really not the primary database. It could be used as a primary database, but you typically want to have a robust database behind it as well. So we will be working on that, when the time comes. But for now, render.com fits the bill. Very happy with the service so far. If you are going to be testing out the app from the portal, once we link to it, you may notice that when you come to it, it may take a little time to refresh. That's because we are not paying for the service yet. Obviously, we will start paying for the service once it becomes more substantial. So, but if on the free tier, which why not? Why spend money if you don't have to? The free tier does make you warm up a little bit. I think 45 seconds or so before you use it. If you see that happens, it just means no one used it in the last 45 seconds. We will be going through a deployment as well as part of this exercise, which is exciting because one of my favorite features is that the 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 commit comments is going to be handled by the AI, so we don't have to do any of that at all, which is great, because that also takes time to write it up, and half the time you don't remember the changes that you made, but the AI doesn't forget. It will put in all the changes that you're doing. Notice here that it's making the changes, and we should be multitasking. Before we actually start debugging code, we want to say to tell the AI to do a double check. Hey, so thank you for writing all the code. Could you go back to your checklist and just double check and make sure that everything in the checklist was implemented properly? So the AIs are very human-like in the sense that they do forget things. And so if we didn't do a checklist, chances are would have done everything, possibly, possibly not. But then you can see over here, look, items that need additional work. So it didn't need that extra reminder. It's like, oops, I forgot something. And what typically happens, people don't do this. And they assume the AI is perfect and it knows everything. And why would it just told me, it just gave me the checklist. Why isn't it doing it? And the answer is because AIs aren't perfect, right? We know that. So why do we? So on one hand, we think we treat the AIs as perfect when it's writing code, but when it's doing writing a report, we're carefully checking every last thing to make sure they didn't make anything up. So AIs do miss things, and hopefully it won't make stuff up, but that can happen as well. So yes, so please, let me just do yes. Brief is always better. So what I wanted to show you is that so while it's working, we can still get stuff done. I'm going to bring up, what I'm going to do is, and this is one thing I love to do, is I'm going to go here into one of the packages, let's say services. Let's go into world service because this is something that we are working with right now. And we're going to copy and paste this into ChatGPT. So this is the type of work ideally you should be doing while you are while the AI is writing code for you, and say something like this. And let's go to the bottom. Hold on, not sure why it's not going to the bottom for me. And let's go over here. Yeah, I've been noticing ChatGPT is not doing a great job with their input. Okay, please review this code for me. What's great here is that we're having another AI checking another AI's work. They're different models. So this is interesting. It's suggesting we break it into different modules. And what's also cool is that we can suggest these to the AI afterwards and say, and if it agrees, we can put on the to-do list. You have to be careful. We have a lot of things to do, right? But we have to focus on the big things. Right now, the big thing is for me is to do this join code. So this way, it's a little bit of privacy in the sense of if somebody is a bad actor and they put up a non-appropriate picture into the game, they have to spread it, right? It's on them to give the join code around. Obviously, it's not a good thing, and we will block them very quickly. But that's important. But a lot of these things is definitely important strategically, but we have to be careful that we don't get distracted by doing things that we don't need to do. some of these things are really important, right? This is atomacy, right? This is, we don't want to have race conditions, right? That's from a multi-user perspective. So we have to be careful with these things. So these are all good stuff, but again, now if there's any code that we don't know, this is a great opportunity also to say, hey, ChatGPT, could you explain some code for me? That's another thing I like to do as well. So you pick a function, a code module, and you say, you know what, this looks interesting. I don't know some of these commands. Could you explain this to me? And so let's go over here. Let's go back and say, again, you're doing this while the AI is working for you, right? You're keeping to work. So can you, and notice I'm typing here because I'm talking to you at the same time. So this code for me, and we'll get that in there. So obviously, if I wasn't sharing this on video, this would be on a different screen so I can see um, when the code generation is ending. So let's over here and let's now check. We'll do one more check, right? Can you check again to make sure that we don't miss anything? Why not? Right? Because your debugging time is what takes the most time, right? And now, if we had unit tests here, we would actually have the AI test the unit tests as well, because unit tests are very valuable, and the AI can actually do and run the unit tests and make sure that things are working. So if then you don't actually have to debug it, through that becomes more of a, once the unit testing works, then you test. But I actually don't have. I did initially. I did try to create unit tests, but I wasn't very successful at it, and I think I know why. And that will be a subject of another video: how to create unit tests with the AI properly, so this way it becomes part of your system, right? Your foundation, but it's not. Um, but if you don't do it the right way, what basically happens is that the AI gets into a loop where if you don't give it strong requirements, um, especially between a back end and a front end, then it can't sync up. It tries to fix it, it fails. It tries to fix it again, it fails. And then you, the developer, have to get involved and start fixing up every unit test properly, which is not what you want, right? You want to be able to design them from the beginning so they work correctly. So let's see what's going on over here. A lot of detail here, and it's a lot more detail than we want. We want to basically to do a check and like yes or no, and we're done. So let's try that. So I want you to do another check, but I don't want you to make any more changes. I just want you to let me know what is it, did we implement the checklist or not? So so the AI likes to make changes, and that's very important. When you are, working with the AI, and you find a problem or an issue or question, and you ask it, it's going to go, oh, let me make this change. You ask it another question, this change. You sometimes you have to stabilize your code and say, don't make any more changes. Cascade can be set up in two ways. One way is that the console is running within the Cascade. This is the Cascade window, which is basically a prompt, right? You can chat with it, and it also executes code. So we have two servers that we're running. So we're running a regular HTTP server. We're also running a this is for the server. So running a npm for Node.js. So that's the npm. The reason why I'm running it outside is because the AI is too quick to start and restart the server. I will experiment again with it. Maybe you just have to explain to it when it should and shouldn't restart it. But I felt that it was trigger happy, and I wanted to have more control over when the server was starting or not. The Pro, if it's running, the benefit is that it actually can read the error messages for you and actually fix some of the error messages. There's actually a downside to that as well, because sometimes it's too quick. It sees an error and it's already fixing it. And sometimes you just want to slow down and see, like, let me assess the problem first, like with the AI. But the AI is a little bit trigger happy sometimes, and it jumps to start fixing things even before you want it to fix things. So by me running the server, I have a little bit more control over it. And I did restart the server. Um, so this way, it can, to make sure we have the latest changes. So let's bring it up and let's see if it works. One thing we didn't do, and I'm thinking now, and this is a great thing to show you this before we get started. So one thing, migration. Any what we need to do is, by default, um, any worlds that have been created already, we need to set them up with a user that can see them. So we should set it up, the user that created the world should be also given access to it. So could you check our Redis on render.com and create a ad hoc update script to fix the data for us? Now, this is great because this is really tedious stuff. If you do anything with data migration or data, whether it's a database or if it's a SQL database or Redis, whenever you're making changes to your code, you have to patch up your data as well. Now, if this was production, if we had actually a live system here, and we were testing on development, I would have set up a update script for the production release, and I would save it now as well. So go for it. Okay, so let Redis let the AI do its thing, and see, I didn't even test yet because there is no point to test. So this is interesting. So the reason why I excluded the ad hoc scripts from the folder is because from being checked in is because there's actually private key password in there to access Redis. I didn't want to put that into the Redis. What's great here is that I gave the AI a rule not to put the ad hoc scripts into, not to check in the ad hoc scripts, and it's listening, and that's what you want. So I'll do that here as well. Okay. Now, obviously, there are scenarios which I didn't take into advance, like you would have on a test system, and that is one example is that maybe there are some worlds that don't have a proper access control. For example, there's an unknown user here. We probably missed that scenario. So and we do a refresh over here, and it looks like I can see everyone, which might be correct, might be incorrect. We'll find out soon enough because I'm going to create a new world, and so looks like something's not working, but we will validate it. You don't always. We want to do a little bit more testing before you complain to the AI that something's not working, and we'll go over here to create a world and confirm. Okay, we'll do a unique pattern over here, and we're going to exit the world. Okay, so this is the one I just created. It does have my name in here. Now let's bring in my other user identity, which is over here. That's Yakov2. And I'm going to refresh the screen. So let's see. It looks like it was brought in. So the access control is not working. Let's complain to the AI and see what it says. Let's move that out. Okay. So I just did a quick test and I created a new world, and basically it was visible. I was able to see it. But the user that created the world was able to see it, and then another user who didn't create the world was able to see it without actually having to join to it. So this is a bug. In addition, all the users, all the worlds, the existing worlds are accessible. And I noticed that there's some worlds that have like an unknown user as well, which we didn't take care of in the migration script. Don't fix that yet uh, because that's a minor issue for now. We can fix that later. For now, just focus on the fact that the access controls are not working. Now, what I can do here also is that you can, while the AI is working, you should be working as well. And if you have a bug, definitely try to figure out what the bug is. So I have Redis has something called a Redis Insight, which is a great tool. It allows you to view your Redis data. So I'm going to load it in over here, and we should be able to see. I should be able to filter based on world. I should be able to see that data. So we should have the worlds over here set up so that we know. And I don't see any here. I'm not seeing any worlds that will have the user key at the end. So to me, it looks like something is missing from the data perspective. Let's see what the AI is trying to figure out as well. Okay, so it's fixing up code, but I want to point out that I'm not seeing in Redis that key structure on the data side. So I don't think it identified the root cause of the issue. If we scroll back to where we were discussing what the design requirements, I didn't see over here. See, there's a lot of discussion, and we're going all the way back to the key structure. Unfortunately, as we're scrolling back, it's also writing stuff as well. So, yeah, we're losing. Yeah, in fact, we have to go all the way down again just to see it. I don't know if there's a keyboard shortcut for that. It's a little frustrating. Let's see what it wrote, because we went back so far. Yeah, we have to get back all the way back to the bottom. Let's just do accept. Let me just ask the data problem here. So I'm looking for the data in Redis and I'm not seeing it. So with the new structure, and I believe that was W colon world key colon user key, and I'm not seeing that at all. And if we migrated data over, I should be seeing at least some keys, and I did create a new world, and I should see that structure as well, and I'm not seeing that in Redis. So let's submit that. Having trouble to get back down. So one trick, I'm going to do this now, is we can exit out of, let me go into the conversation history and go back into here. So hopefully this will show up at the bottom. And I lost my conversation here, so let me paste it in. Now, you could, of course, check every line of code, but I think that defeats the whole purpose, right? If we're checking every line of code after the AI, then what's the point? Yes, the AI is writing the code for us, but it's like writing a document with this AI, using AI to write something and then having to check every word. Depending on what it is, it may be important. If it's a legal document, obviously every word is important. If it's an email, not less important, depending on, of course, who it's for. But you definitely want to, with code, I think, you want to have a good balance. You want to trust but verify. Have the AI write the code. You spot check different things. The critical things are spot checked, and then you move forward. Right? You don't want to um, being babysitting the AI. You want to be in that. Um, so the answer is yes. One thing we didn't do also previously is that we didn't debug. So that's also a good thing to do as well. From the beginning, we bring up the console and we look at the debugging information. So the more information we can gather up front, the quicker this debugging cycle is going to take place. And I think my guess is that no matter what, there will be some debugging available. We're trying to minimize it. I don't think it's possible to ever have to implement changes without some debugging. At least with the state of AI right now, hopefully this will improve because tends to make the same mistakes again and again, and so it just could be just a model problem, a training problem, and the more developers use AI for coding, right, the more it becomes uh, a productive cycle, right, um, where the developers are using AI to write code and to fix code, and eventually it will become better and better at coding. Um, so we will move this forward. And while this is, putting this in over here, you can continue debugging, by the way, as well. That's also a good possibility of something to do with your time while you're waiting. You can debug this. You can debug another, uh, problem that is potentially with the system. Um, so I think so. It's still adding more debugging, which is interesting because I did ask for debugging from the beginning, but as much as I asked for at the beginning, it still obviously wasn't as much as it's doing now. So it tends to, there's levels of logging, as we all know. So I'm going to restart the server. The reason why it's telling me to restart the server is that I actually asked it in one of my instructions that it should restart the server. Tell me when I need to do a server restart. So this way I don't have to restart the server unless it's necessary, and I still have control over it. So I am restarting both servers in another window, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the bottom, and then I'm going to run the user interface on the top, and then we'll see if it's working or not, and we'll see what are the issues with it. So let me get this started over here. Okay, so I'm going to put this on top, and I'm going to refresh the screen. And so far, well, yeah, it's not looking too promising because it's showing Yakov 2 and Yakov Stash, so it doesn't seem to be doing a good job with that. So this is where, right, so let me do a quick check on Redis now. And let's see, because it may have just done, it may not have fixed. It would have to rerun the script that he used to fix the data, which I don't think it fixed that script. So we will test that before we do that. Let's just see if there's anything here with that, starting with W of that form with the user key in there. We don't see that. So let's create a new world. And confirm that. And we'll do this pattern on the bottom. And let's see, I'm going to exit the world. Okay. So what's interesting here is that I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the new world that we just created is not here. So maybe there's a issue. What is the key structure for a user access control, and what is the key structure for for the set, or where we're storing it in the world's structure? So those are the two questions. Don't make any changes to the code. I just want to know what the key structure pattern is. So notice that you have to be very clear and blunt when you don't want it to make any changes. So it's using access, which I actually never specified, which between me and you, it's unnecessary because it's just, extra verbiage that you don't need on a key. And then the user key, and then user key world. So if you look inside Redis Insight, you can see here that we don't have those structures at all. Let's see over here. We have user. It should be user key, right? And then it should be, and then there's worlds. And we don't have that. So let's ask it to migrate the data again properly. and let's at least fix up that. If we can fix that up, then that gives us, at least we'll know we have some real data that we're testing with. We don't have to keep creating a new world each time, which takes time. So I noticed that there's no data in Redis right now. And I think my confusion is that, oh, okay. So this is on me. This is my boo-boo, basically, and this happens all the time for developers. So I was looking at the wrong environment, right? And basically, I should have been looking at my local environment, and instead I was looking at my render environment. Um, and I even think when I cleaned up the data, I cleaned up render, which is ridiculous. I should have cleaned up my own data first. So let's ask AI to update that script as necessary and to run it locally first. So I made a mistake. I asked you to run the script to migrate the data against render, but I didn't even test it against my local data. And I've been looking at my local data, and actually I've been looking at, oh my gosh, I've been making so many mistakes here because I've been looking at not my local host, I've been looking at my render. So I'm really, really, I apologize, but this is the real things that happen within when you're developing. You make these stupid mistakes and you're testing and debugging. You're like, what am I doing wrong? And yeah, we just make a lot of mistakes. Um, so yeah, so let me run it locally first, and yeah, and um, so not only was did I deploy the data to the wrong environment, I was testing with the wrong environment, and I should have been testing with my local host environment because I did not deploy the code yet to render. So I don't know how many of you caught that and were like, "Oh my gosh, Yaakov, you're gonna feel really stupid when you catch that bug." So this was on me. So I don't know who's keeping score, but but the AI is definitely in the lead right now. Um, so and what's interesting here is that, and they didn't do the data migration. So guess what? There's no worlds that are available here to see. So let's tell the AI to make sure the script is correct and to run it locally. So by mistake, I ran the script to fix up the data, the Redis data, and I ran it for render.com by mistake first. I should have ran it locally first. So please review the script, make sure that it's consistent with everything that we're doing, and then run it locally. Thank you. Notice that on a separate note, I noticed some things I didn't like it added in, it basically added in something on the Redis for the user, for the access control, access as a keyword. Some people like that to keep things verbose. Um, and so what's going on over here? Um, oh, hold on a second. That was not my comment. Something, I crossed my wires there. Let me fix that over here and paste that in. So one nice thing about Whisper is that you have that nice copy paste. And anyways, what I was saying about so I noticed some things in the code I wasn't crazy about, but don't get bogged down about those things. those things are easy to change at the end. That's an easy refactor, relatively easy, right? If it's done right and properly with the right mindset and controls. You don't want to waste time changing things. You want to focus on the big picture. Don't get caught up with changing small little details. Save that. Do a refactor at the end. Get all your changes in at once, because you're gonna have breaking changes and you're gonna have to debug things. It's a pain, but you only want to do that once. You don't want to keep doing that. Um, so I am going to now, uh, okay, so I ran the script, so that's wonderful. I checked it and I ran it, and let's see if it works. So I have Yako Stash over here on the top, and then I have Yako Stash 2, and right now it actually only has Yako Stash. So there's no overlap, which makes sense. What I can do right away, let me just join a world. So I should be able to join a world. I can click the join code, and very cool. It showed up. Let me exit it, and access granted. Another thing I didn't create, but I love it. So um, so now we have this world, and now let's create a world. So if we do that, if this works, then it means that the only bug that there was me, um, and me checking the wrong environment. So that would be really cool. It doesn't always go this easy, but I think. Oh, okay. We do have our first bug. So it did have an error to create the world. Let's take a look at the log and see what the issue is. Um, over here, it's always good to check the server log. Obviously, if you're doing a server component, you want to make sure that, yeah, you should check JavaScript because to see what the issue is, but usually the server will know more, and you basically copy and paste the error right into the AI. So it goes right in here. You even can copy multiple screens. A word of warning, I don't know if there's still a problem, but when I was pasting in multiple screens, the AI would freeze up and I would have to start a new session. It would lose my history, and that's why I put together this conversations.md, because every time you're sort of like starting fresh with a new AI who doesn't know you and has to learn you. So you definitely want to keep that conversation.md file going, because you don't want to, you know, train in another AI every time it crashes. So for now, I've only limiting it to one screenshot at a time, but at some point I'll retest that and see if that indeed was an issue or not. And let's see. So it fixed the issue, and it says it knows what the issue is. Okay, so I'm going to restart. It didn't tell me to restart it, but I will restart it anyways, just to be safe. And I will come in here and create a new world. So come back over here, go back to my local host. Okay, I'm going to create a new world. I restarted the server, and let's see if this works. So let's take the Mona Lisa, and we will confirm that and fail to create world. Okay, so let's see. So far there was 2 bugs with AI. I had a few more than that. Let's see what's going on over here. Oh, okay, wrong number of arguments. Doesn't seem to be too difficult of a issue for the AI. Now, sometimes you can look at an error. Obviously, you can figure it out for yourself, what the error is. And that's fine. And there's no reason for you to tell the AI, oh, fix this, when you can easily go in and fix it yourself. But I would tell the AI that you fixed it, because when it's going to come time to checking your code, you want it to have knowledge that you changed that class or changed a piece of code. I will just leave the AI to figure out what the problem is, because I think that's what we're doing here, right? We're using the AI as much as possible. To be honest, I'm not an expert in syntax. I know like 10 different languages, and so probably more. And so syntax is my worst. Typically I'm sitting there with Google in the old days and writing code because I don't remember the syntax of different things. So for me, AI is a big help because I don't have to keep in mind. I just tell it the algorithm and it writes the code for me, no matter what language. So it's a great time saver. So this should fix it now, and let's now go into. Let's again restart the server. I'm going to restart that here and start that again. And now I'm going to go in to, no, this is the other screen. Where is my other screen? Oh, here it is. Okay, so let's go, let's start that again. Create a new world. We'll try again with the Mona Lisa. Confirm that. Oh, again, it didn't work. So let's see what the issue is now. Let's go back to our console. And again, seems to be the same error. So usually my rule is like, I'll do something twice, and then if there's still an issue, I would just figure it out myself. So I'll give it another shot and see. This seems to be the same issue. And then I'll say something like, don't fix any code. Just check if it's the same issue. And if you did fix it, then explain to me why the fix wasn't done. Because we want to make sure that it's not something else. Maybe I'm checking the wrong environment. Maybe I have to restart the server and I didn't. So you don't want to get into that circular bug fix where the AI is running and jumping and trying to fix your issue when it may be something on your end. So that's why I like to do that additional analysis as well to make sure that it's not something else. So it's saying here, so it's checking the different options over here, and now it's checking to see the code to see, and it found the code. So it did explore the other options too, which is good, but then it found the issue, or it thinks it found the issue. Okay, so I've asked it not to fix the code. So please fix the code, and that was done because I didn't know what type of fix that it was going to find. So now it's going to fix the code for us, and then we will then keep moving over here, and then we will retest it as well. So we're going to restart the server, and then we will retest it. So let's see if it fixes changing the code or not. Now imagine if this is being done manually, even though it's a lot of code in a lot of different places, it's very easy for a human being to get distracted. And that's what most people don't assess when they're saying, oh, AI, it's not good, it's too much, it gets bogged down. It's not true. Human beings get bogged down as well. We're going to create the world and confirm that. Okay. Um, I think this means that it was working. Okay, so then so we have now the world is created. We're going to exit out, and here we have a world. And now let's look at, this is the full, this is to test it on the other side. Let's see if it appears over here. Nope, it's not here, so I'm going to join in now. Here's my join code, and I'm going to join world. And now I'm joining the world. I'm going to paint a stack of pixel. And now we have access granted. So this is working. So great job. Thank you for bearing with me. Obviously, we would be doing a lot more testing. If this was not on a video, but for this is sufficient for now. Of course, I'll be doing more testing on my own. What now I'd like to show you is what I alluded to earlier, really cool feature. We're going to check in our code onto render.com. So let's do that. So great job. It's working. Let's check in our code and commit it and give a good description for the commit comment of what the changes were. And also update the relevant files, conversations.md, requirements.md. So all the MD files should be updated based on all the changes that we made. And thank you. Okay, so let it do its thing. And what we'll do next is we'll do a quick test on render.com, not a full test. But there could be other issues there, but that's not the point. The point is that you saw the cycle about how you debug things. But I do want to show you the commit comment that the AI writes. It's Claude, not ChatGPT. And we will, so while it's doing this, one thing that I started doing earlier was to have to basically have ChatGPT explain some code to us while we're working. And I never finished that. So this is a good thing to go back to while we're working over here. So so I asked it to explain the code, and it said I worked the functions line by line, and basically it's doing this over here. It's telling me, explaining the code, what it's doing, which is great. So if you need to know, learn a language or learn code, so as you're doing, and what's really cool with this approach is that you may find bugs or issues with the architecture because you're learning the code, you're seeing, you're understanding the logic. Then it really helps. I find personally as a developer, after I write code, I actually like to step through it line by line, like the first time it runs, and I find so many issues just because when you're tracing through code on your own, you see the logic, you understand the logic. Obviously, we didn't do that here, but that is definitely a good thing to do if you have the time to do that. Um, so basically, it's committing the code, and what's great here is that it gives really detailed comments. There's no no developer I know would ever write this extensive comments like this, which is what you really need when you think about it. Because when you're looking at Git and you have to start doing diffs between files, it just becomes a lot of work to figure out what was the changes. Here, this is great. So then you basically go up to render.com, which I will show that over here. And then you deploy that code. So we're going to deploy the code over here. It was checked into, I actually use Bitbucket. So let me show you that over here. I will show you the commits logic. Let me just make sure that it actually push the code. See, that's something on me. I should, and I think I've mentioned a few times, but can you push the code? So obviously committing the code is separate than pushing, but in many cases, especially when you're doing local development, it's the same thing. Obviously, if this was production, or if it's a team, you have to be more careful when you push code. But for local development, definitely, especially if you're working on your own branch, then there's really no negative to push code. So that's something that you can tell the AI and say, hey, every time I tell you to commit the code, also push the code, because I tend to forget. So that's a good thing to tell it. Actually, do me a favor going forward, whenever I tell you to commit the code, also push the code as well, because I tend to forget to tell you that. And also add this to the relevant MD files, and also record this as a memory. So we'll wait for that to finish while it's doing the push, and then we'll give it this instructions. Unfortunately, it can't multitask. It'd be nice if it could. Maybe they'll make that an advanced feature, but sometimes you just want to keep moving along. And this change won't really impact this change. So technically, it can be run side by side. So we do have to wait for that to commit. Sometimes it does get frozen, by the way. So you do have to watch out for that. If it's something's taking too long, and you don't just wait forever, right? The AI doesn't know everything. It is possible for that it can freeze up. This shouldn't take that long, to be honest. I'm actually concerned why it's taking so long. So I'm going to stop that and then tell it what I wanted the instruction, and then I'll tell it to check to see if it was pushed. Actually, I can check that myself. I can just check the Bitbucket environment. And yes, it was actually checked over here. So we can see here that this is 4 minutes. And then I can check the commit code over here. And you can see that it is all that is written. So this was the commit comment, which is pretty cool. Okay. So obviously, every time we make a change to these MD files, it has to check in the code. So technically, I should have done this up front. And what I'll do is I'll probably give it another rule to tell it whenever, before checking in the code, update all the MD files. So I'll give that requirement as well. That's another rule. So it's a little bit in a recursive territory here, but these are important rules. And again, the AI is writing the comments for us anyways, pushing the code. So really it doesn't matter for us. It's just that we are catching things now that are going to impact us for the future. So I might as well catch it now. and say, going forward, before you commit any code changes and pushing them for that matter, also update all the MD files based on all the code changes. You should be updating the conversations and the requirements files as the development, and anything that affects that impacts it will change it anyways. Well, I think I'm going on too much over here. Let's just go with that for now, because the truth is, it really isn't smart enough to know when it has to update the these files. Like I tell it explicitly, I have new requirements, update the requirements file. This is a project change, update conversations, .md file. So I am the one usually telling it that. So I think that it's important that it's so it can't really do that automatically. I sort of have to give that control. So these are all minor stuff, but I did want you to feel the ongoing changes and the rules and how this all works together. And this was a good example. Anyways, getting back to render.com. So I will. So now that this is deployed, I can go to render.com, or you can go to any service. Again, I actually did not know render.com before I started using this. Before I started coding Verve Coding. So till I started this process myself, and then I said, hey, which tool, like which platform should I use? And it suggested that I use Render. So, and I reviewed other options, and we went through the pros and cons based on the languages that I'm using now and the platform I'm using and the stack that I'm using now versus the stack that I will use eventually long term. But I felt that this was a good solution for now, and I've been pretty impressed with it. So definitely, if it meets your requirements, definitely take a look at it and to see if it works for you. So I think we will end up over here. I'm not going to test the live version. I'll do that on my own. No reason to bore you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know it was long, but it was a lot of fun. I know I had a lot of fun, and I hope you had a lot of fun as well. In the next video, we will be doing a bigger feature. So this was a small feature, but it was important. We will be starting to attack this massively multiplayer game and building in some of the critical features and seeing how far we can push the Verve coding and AI to really save us a lot of time and make us more productive. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share, and tell your friends. And this is something, share it with your manager. This is something that can help all of us be more productive and to use AI more effectively. So again, thank you so much, and I'll see you real soon.